Welcome to Below the Belt, the space where stories and science come together. I'm your host, Arsha Malik, and today's episode is one that hits incredibly close to home for me. It's about cervical cancer, a topic that many don't want to talk about, but one we all need to understand. Just last year, someone very dear to me was diagnosed with cervical cancer. Watching her fight for her life was one of the hardest things I've ever experienced. She endured months of chemotherapy, endless hospital visits, blood tests, biopsies, and medications that tore her body down before they helped build her back up. I remember watching her lose her hair, seeing her body shrink to the point she was nearly unrecognizable. Her energy, her smile, her light, they dimmed in a way I never thought possible. But today, I am proud to say she is a survivor. After 12 grueling months, she rang the bell and announced herself cancer-free. This experience opened my eyes to what cancer is truly like, the kind that we don't always see. It also made me realize how little many people, especially young women and teenagers, know about cervical cancer, its causes, and most importantly, how it can be prevented. So, in this episode, we're diving deep into what cervical cancer is, how it develops, how we can protect ourselves, and why awareness is so critically important. I'll also share insights from a recent interview I conducted with a gynecologist who helped break down everything we should all be learning much earlier in life. So, let's start at the beginning. What is cervical cancer? Cervical cancer is a type of cancer that starts in the cervix, the lower part of the uterus that connects to the vagina. It begins when cells in the cervix start to grow abnormally and out of control. Now, the most common cause of this abnormal cell growth? It's a virus, the human papillomavirus, or HPV. And that's something many people don't know, that a virus most of us will encounter in our lifetimes can sometimes lead to something this serious. But before we get too deep into the medical side, let me say this clearly. Cervical cancer is one of the most preventable types of cancer, and yet thousands of women across the world still lose their lives to this each year. Why? Because of a lack of screening, a lack of access, and a lack of awareness. Earlier this month, I had the opportunity to sit down with a gynecologist and ask her a few questions regarding cervical cancer. Let me walk you through the conversation and I'll share her insights and inputs. The first question I asked her was, what is cervical cancer and how does it develop? She explained that cervical cancer starts in the cervix, as we discussed. It happens due to abnormal growth of cells in the cervical lining. Most often, this abnormal growth is caused by persistent infection with high-risk types of HPV. The second question I asked her was, what are the main risk factors? She listed these clearly. HPV infection, the most significant factor. Smoking, it weakens the immune system and damages cervical cells. A weakened immune system from conditions like HIV. Having multiple sexual partners, which increases the risk of HPV exposure, and skipping regular pap smears, which can catch the disease early on. The third question I asked her was, so how exactly does HPV cause cervical cancer? HPV is incredibly common, and in most people, the body clears the infection naturally. But some high-risk strains of HPV causes change in the DNA of cervical cells. And if those changes go undetected, they can turn into cancer over time. That's why regular screenings are so critical and important. The fourth question I asked her was, Are pap smears and HPV tests truly effective? According to her, they're extremely effective. These tests detect precancerous changes, sometimes years before cancer develops. A simple 5-minute test can literally save a life. The fifth question I asked her was, when should women start screening? Women should begin pap smears at age 21 and continue every 3 years. Starting at age 30, women can also get an HPV test every 5 years. Screening is essential, even if you feel perfectly healthy, because early stage cervical cancer often has no symptoms at all. Let's talk about the HPV vaccine, one of the greatest tools we have in the fight against cervical cancer. The gynecologist emphasized this. The HPV vaccine is safe, effective, and strongly recommended for both girls and boys starting as early as age 9. It protects against the most dangerous strains of HPV that leads to cancer. Imagine that, a vaccine that can prevent cancer. Now that's powerful. We need to do better at educating people about this. Parents, teens, schools, we all play a role in spreading awareness. So, what should women look out for? Early warning signs of cervical cancer include unusual vaginal bleeding, especially after sex or between periods, persistent pelvic pain, abnormal discharge with a foul smell, and pain during intercourse. If any of these symptoms appear, it's vital to seek medical attention. When an abnormality is found on a pap smear, doctors may perform a colposcopy, a procedure that gives a better view of the cervix. Sometimes a biopsy is taken to confirm whether cancer is present or not. Treatment depends on the stages of cancer. Early stages may be treated with surgery or radiation. Later stages often require radiation combined with chemotherapy. Advanced stages may be treated with targeted therapy or palliative care. And here's the truth. It's not just a physical battle. When I asked about the emotional impact, the gynecologist said many women fear death, worry about fertility, and the struggle with the side effects, just like my family member did. The emotional burden is so immense, and that's why counseling, support groups, and compassionate care are so important. When asked whether enough is being done to educate the public, the gynecologist said, "Nope, not even close. We need more awareness campaigns, better education in schools, and open conversations. Screening should be normalized. The HPV vaccine should be celebrated, not questioned. And women should never feel ashamed or afraid to talk about their bodies." To any woman listening right now who's afraid to get screened, don't wait. Pap smears are quick, they're simple, and they could save your life. I know it's scary, but early detection is the key, and you are not alone. Before we wrap up, I want to come back to my family member, a survivor, a warrior, a woman who smiled even when the pain was unbearable. Watching her suffer was agonizing, but seeing her survive was nothing short of wonderful. Her journey taught me that cancer doesn't put you at a disadvantage, and prevention is power. I made this episode because I never want another family to feel the helplessness we felt. If even one listener gets screened after hearing this, if one parent decides to get their child vaccinated, then this conversation has done its job. Thank you for tuning in to Below the Belt. If today's episode resonated with you, please share it, talk about it, and educate others. Let's raise awareness together, because knowledge is protection. I'm your host, Arsha Malik, and I'll see you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay informed, and take care of each other.